Ah, we now can't open the doors. Bugger. I can't actually get out of the hangar. And I think we can probably just rotate it in place. So it's now the right way up. Officer's log 13. Stardate 10-03-2081. With the VAB now fully operational, and our third month since waking now well underway, it is finally time to start assembling the communications array. Once operational, we will be one step closer to our new home. We still don't know what happened, but my hope is that this planet will give us a clue. Hello, fellow engineers. Today we are going to finally start work on this communications network. These probes, the things we're going to take to the planet. But before we do that, we have one very important task to do, and that is make the tugboat that will allow us to push these panels into place. So that's what we're going to do today, and to do that, I think we build it in here, because this is where it's going to land, so it has to be able to fit through these doors, and it has to fit on this pad. Now, the construction of this should be relatively straightforward. It is largely just going to be... It's going to be largely hydrogen-based, because the hydrogen thrusters provide far more output than the ion thrusters for the size. So a large hydrogen thruster gives us 480 kilonewtons of force, whereas a large ion thruster gives us 172. Yeah, so you're talking at least 3 times. So I think hydrogen thrusters for this just for the sheer power. And yeah, it doesn't need to be that big. What we'll do, I'm going to jump straight in. You know what I could do? Ooh, that sounded like a signal. Signals! Okay. The immediate distraction has occurred. We must go and find the signal. And we are away. Okay, what have we got here? Oh, it's another one of these ones. Moo. I have the cowl suit. Let's just take this apart, and we'll get back and we will crack on, because I'll be honest with you guys, I've started this recording quite late into the week, and I don't have a lot of time. So distractions are less than welcome this week. Alright, let's put you down on the pad. And we're locked in place. Okay, so distraction over. Let's get building this tugboat. Am I tripping, or did... There was... I did build that connector, didn't I? I didn't take it away.
The immediate distraction has occurred.
The game do a cleanup. I think the game may have done a cleanup on me. I may need to turn that off. Okay, so with that minor annoyance out of the way, I suppose it gives me the opportunity to do things slightly better. Because I want to keep the connector off the ground by at least 1 block. Because I think I can do that. I think it'll let me. No, it won't let me. Maybe half a block. Okay, that's a new one. Why is that not falling? Game? Hello? Give it a gentle boop. Boop. There we go. That gives us a nice platform to work off of, which also allows us to build underneath the craft. It's good to know that I can have at least half a block separation between the connectors. Okay, so we have our connector locked in. I'm going to throw in the basic functional blocks, and then I'll talk through what's happened. So this is the wireframe I've got going for this little tugboat. It's a tight fit out the door, but it will fit. However, I've come to the conclusion that maybe I want to offset the thrusters a little bit from the hydrogen tank. so I can run some piping to put even more smaller thrusters in around the edges. I think that would work quite well. And I've got a sneaky suspicion using up the entire width of that doorway is begging for disaster. So I think a slight trim on the edges is necessary. I've had a brainwave. We're going to redesign. We're going to iterate. One moment. Okay, this is the new idea. Twin wide large hydrogen tanks with small hydrogen tanks and small oxygen tanks in the middle, creating a sort of spine. Conveyor converter junction on the end here, so we can get 3 thrusters on the back. We'll put a cockpit on the front here somewhere, but we can centralize it this time. We can have 2 separate mag plates on the front, so we can make it a bit more symmetrical. And then for additional forward and reverse thrust, we can put it on the top and the bottom, but mainly the top. We do need a bit more directional thrust as well, but that is a solvable problem. I'm going to start thinking about the thruster placements, especially up and down thrust, because they're going to be the hardest ones to incorporate. It's not much, it's just a collection of blocks, but there's a vision. Trust the vision. Trust the process. Okay, yes, I know this looks a little bit goofy, but hear me out. There's a very good reason why I have the engines configured this way, and that's so I get maximum pushing power without having to worry about them damaging each other. So you can see this red and yellow cone coming out of the engine here. That is the area of effect where the engine plume will damage other blocks. These don't touch each other. So these blocks are positioned such that they cannot damage each other with their engine plumes. Which means I've now got reverse in line with forwards. I also don't have any left and right, which I'm just noticing. So I'm going to have to do something about that as well. But it's coming together. It's not going too badly. And I have ideas. Okay, signal. Let's go get the signal. What signal is it? Oh, it's similar to the one we saw earlier. That's good. Means it's not going to disappear on us. Cool, we can just grind this down. I did say I didn't want any distractions though.
The immediate distraction has occurred.
Oh well. That was almost perfect. What am I targeting down there?
The immediate distraction has occurred.
One moment. There appears to be something floating here. Unless that's the center of the base, maybe? I mean, that would make sense. If that's where the game thinks the middle of the base is, that kind of makes sense. I don't see anything there. I think it's just the game being weird. Guys, have I ever told you that I'm very indecisive? I'm going the goofy design, but I also kind of don't want to forego the goofy design. So what I'm thinking now is if we throw these up here and have our forwards and reverse thrust at the back facing like this. If I conveyor convert off the back here, so conveyor convert off the back, and then I can do my lateral thrusters. Yeah, we can do lateral thrusters, something similar to this. I mean, I could step them in a little bit, I suppose, but no, we'll do that. We'll do something like that. And can I get... Oh, I can. Okay. We could get 2 more thrusters side by side there. Or we pull these back. I don't know. I'm really not sure. My worst fear has been realized. This is turning into just a jumbled mess of what can only be described as conveyors and thrusters. And I don't like it. I really don't like it. Back to the drawing board. Okay, I have settled on a design. And I'm starting to weld up. What I'm going for is I'm going for a longer design. So it barely fits on the pad. Just about fits through the doors. Plenty of height clearance, which is good. We're going to have 6 thrusters, forwards, backwards, up and down. The main thrust vectors for towing something. I've worked it out, and it's about 5 small thrusters to 1 big thruster. That gives us 4 left and right. That should be plenty. 4 big hydrogen tanks should be plenty to give us enough fuel. And then our little towing structure will be these mag plates on the front. That's the idea. I'm going to weld this up and I'm going to see how I like it. Also, don't let me forget my gyros. This is very important because I will forget. Do not let me forget my gyros. So we're welded up. I just need to do the lateral thrust on this side. I don't really have any room to do it though. So I'm going to move this ship into the main hangar. And we will finish off because we've got some shaping to do. And a few other bits and bobs to do as well. But for the most part, it's turned out quite well. Okay, tanks have been stockpiled. Let's see just how badly this goes. Unlocked. Ooh, that was up a bit more than I'd want. I need to do a bit of finagling. Okay, well it fits through the door, which was the main requirement. It has plenty of power, which is good. I likely need to do some finessing, just so that when we take off the pads, we're only using maybe 1 or 2 of each directional thrust, because otherwise I can see us just absolutely sending it into whatever it is we're trying to tow. See guys, I'm not forgetting my gyros. I'm going to place them all... oh, they're going the wrong way. I'm going to place them all under here, and I'm sure this is not going to be an absolutely terrible idea or bite me in the arse. Okay, so the gyros are in. We have event controllers, we have timer blocks, we have a beacon, we have a remote control, we have an antenna, we have batteries, we have thrust in every direction. Why can't I help but feel like I've missed something? Okay, I've done some detailing by putting some panels on the side. I've done a little bit of sloopy bits at the front so that the mag plates look like they're actually held on by something. And I've done a bit of slopey bit at the back. So the back looks like it's held on by something. Now, the thing which I am going to struggle with, and I need to have a long, hard think about, is how do I make these engines on the top look like they're bolted onto something? Because currently they're kind of just there. They exist. I've got a few ideas. Now, the neat... oh, is that mounted too far forward? Did I mess up? No, that doesn't sound like me. I hope I haven't messed up. There's one way to find out. Let's just quickly bring you down. Ooh, not that quick. Not that quick. Let's lock it down to a pad for a second. And just quickly set you to go whoosh. Are you taking damage? Yes, you are. I've mounted them too close. God damn it. This isn't the end of the world. It's just mildly annoying. Okay. Moving these front engines forward comes with the issue that there isn't a mount point for them for the conveyor network. So to combat that, I've just raised them. They've all just been raised by 1 so that I can run the conveyors to them. But it's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly weld these up, but instead of doing it by hand, I'll use the worker bee because I am going to be smart. And missing some components, it seems. On the flip side, I do have the opportunity to make some more interesting mount designs now that they're raised up a block. Okay, the ship's built. It's shaped. We've done the underside. I've given it these little landing legs, or landing skids. And all in all, I'm quite happy with it. All we need to do now is paint it and configure it. Okay, painting is done. The event controllers have been configured. Everything else is pretty much good. This is pretty much done for all intents and purposes. As such, let's just quickly give it a name. Let's just call it the tug for now. So yeah, this very much needs a name. So as last time, if you can leave a suggestion down in the comments, I will very much consider it. I don't know what to call the tugboat, but it is mighty chunky. Now, I'm going to end up regretting making the tugboat almost as big as the entrance. But we'll make it work. It fits through the door with space to spare. Barely. I might need to remove these racks though. Let's just line it up with the connector. There we go, down. So it fits. It barely fits, but it fits. Speaking of, I should probably set that up on... Oh, I could do that as an event controller as well, can't I? So that when this undocks, they open. Ooh, I'm smart. I am so smart. Okay, let's just have a look at our capacity. What have we got? We've got one spare timer. I don't think this is being used for anything. And we have one spare event controller. Okay, I'm just going to do some automation logic stuff and things, and we'll see how it shapes. We'll see how it shapes up. The automation for the hangar has been done. We are only using one event controller for this, which is this one. And the event controller is very basically set up. The first action, when we're connected to the pad, it repressurizes the room. And when we disconnect from the pad, it depressurizes the room. Second action, when we connect to the pad, it closes the gates. When we disconnect the pad, it closes all the doors. This is because we're using one of the vents to control when the gate opens. So when the room depressurizes, the gate will open and we can leave. We can get into the tugboat. We can disconnect from the pad. All the doors shut. The room depressurizes. The gates open. And then we can fly out. And then when we land back on the pad, the gate's shut, the room repressurizes, and it's all good. This way we can serve our oxygen, and means we don't have to faff about trying to open doors, pressing buttons, and all that fun kind of thing. The main reason we're doing it this way is because I want to be able to use the tug while this room is depressurized. So when we depressurize this room, the doors into the airlocked areas get locked shut, other than the main gate and the stairs. So all these doors, they get locked shut. And the only way we can access this area when it's depressurized is via the airlock in the stairs. However, I could do an emergency override here, I suppose. One moment.
The immediate distraction has occurred.
So we have a manual override to depressurize the vents, and have it so when this room depressurizes, it triggers an action in the vent to open this door. Then if we depressurize the room... Oh, we put it on 1, not 4. Because it's upside down, we need to put it on 4. If we depressurize that room, it now opens. We can do a manual override for the gate as well. We'll work on doing a manual override for that room in a moment. Let's just deal with... you can't change the rotation. That could be problematic. Okay, I don't know how best to portray this. Sure, danger. And then that one can be an arrow. That opens the gate. That opens the gate. That repressurizes the room. So the tugboat's done, which is good. We're now able to move things around the fab. Anything we build, we can now get out. That means we are now free to start designing this module. I call it a module. It's going to be... well, it is a module. It's a satellite. I need 6 satellites to get me from here to the nearby planet. Look, you can just about see it through the window. There it is. Our new home. So it's going to be 6 satellite modules and a carrier. Now I don't know how big these modules need to be. They just need to... I do know they need to support 10 megawatts of solar panels. To put it into perspective, this is 10 megawatts of solar panel. I may have my work cut out, but I think I can do it. I think I can do it in a way that doesn't require subgrids. And even if we don't quite get to 10 megawatts, as long as I've got the solar panels to do the bulk of the work, I can equip it with a reactor or a hydrogen engine or something like that, just to make up the last part of it. Okay, we're going to start designing the satellites now, and as with all good craft, we will start it with a connector. This just gives us a nice starting point where we can charge batteries, fill hydrogen tanks, anything like that. Now, on the topic of hydrogen tanks, I think each of these satellite modules probably should have some spare hydrogen on them, and possibly a couple of hydrogen engines as backup, just in case the batteries run dry. So I don't want to have to maintain these very often. So I'm thinking possibly 3 tanks per module. That's going to be a lot of hydrogen. It will last a long time, which is good. We're going to need to do a lot of mining to fill this. And we've got a signal.
The immediate destruction.
Okay, let's go. And some meteors. Everything's happening all at once. Okay, some quick maths later. Each of these tanks can sustain 2 hydrogen engines for about 4 hours, because each hydrogen engine uses 500 litres per second, which is 30,000 litres per minute, which is 1.8 million litres an hour. Each of these tanks holds 15 million litres, so 1.8 times 2 is 3.6. 15 over 3.6 is about 4.16. Which, if you times up by the 3 of these, that's 12.5. So 3 of these, 12.5 hours. That is... if there is no solar at all, that's how long this would last. If we put some cargo containers and then 4 O2H2 generators on this as well, then we have a nice buffer. So should the solar panels not be enough, the resulting ice and hydrogen will power it for quite a bit going forwards. Throw on a few batteries as well. This should work. I need to go get that signal before it expires. I really need to have the doors shut automatically after I go through them. It's another automation I need to do. It doesn't look like the flying away type. That's good. No, it's not going to tell me what I got. Okay. Rude. Do 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 do. Okay, that's been harvested. Let's just deposit the items back in here and return to base. Back a bit, down a bit. I mean, we were close. There we go. Okay, let's continue building this module. Oh, the entrance is right here. I don't know why I was being blind for a second. I might just make it so that all the airlock doors shut behind me. Let me just think this through logically. If we're going to be building 3 hydrogen tanks on each one, I'm going to want to build more hydrogen storage. just temporarily, so that we can always fill them up and have the ice ticking down. How much space have we got in our ores containers? We've got one empty one. Two mostly empty ones. So if we do 2 mining trips to get the ice, build 3 more tanks on the base itself so that we can store the hydrogen, and then do it that way. Yeah, okay, well, before we crack on and make these modules, we need to do a bit of prep work. Is there any other prep work I want to do? So I want to store hydrogen on these just so, because it doubles up as a refueling point as well as reserve power. So we want to stock up on hydrogen. We want some cargo space on this so that we can store some ice there for it to process its own ice. And it gives us a nice big surface area to mount solar panels to. Let's deal with the resources first. As a temporary measure, we're going to put the reserve hydrogen tanks underneath these gantries here. Just as a convenient place to put them. I think 6 spare tanks will be plenty. And then we can just quickly conveyor them up underneath. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but we don't need perfect, we need functional. It's going to be a lot of back and forth doing this. I can see that happening now. Why am I doing this by hand? I've got ships for this. Do I not have a forward-facing light on this? I do. Okay. Okay, apparently by default this doesn't have enough parts for construction. That's okay. Let's go refill this and make sure that we get enough bits and bobs. I maintain that this is still quicker than doing it by hand, on account for having 10 times the inventory space. Do I still have a connector on this gantry? I do. Okay, that makes life a lot easier. We can land on this connector here. It's not as convenient as a nice big pad, but we can still do it. Temporary hydrogen storage sorted. We now need to go get a whole bunch of ice. Ice asteroid located. 5 kilometers in this direction. And off we go. Okay, so we've got our little screen on, which tells us how long it'll take us to stop, which is going to be really useful when it comes to returning to base. Let's see if we can find some ice. Drilling mode on. Let's go harvest some ice. Okay, ice secured, but I did see something which looked like it exploded as we reversed out of there. So I just need to quickly check to make sure we haven't broken anything. Oh, it's probably collision with some of the many rocks that we've got behind us. We'll return to base, and then we will do a secondary trip. I probably should get a downward-facing camera for that connector. Let's get this unloaded, and then we can go again. Right, let's do another mining trip to get even more ice, because I don't think all of that ice we've got will last us very long. A meteor storm in this economy. Oh, we're going to cruise past this. Oh, you know what? You can actually see the lights from here, can't you? I don't have any cameras on this, so I can't zoom in. Right, there's our ice hole. There we go. That is a very full ship. Okay, we've got to be very mindful of how fast we go now, because if we don't slow down in time, we slam straight into our base. I'm going to slow down in plenty of time just so we don't run the risk. It's giving us a warning. No. Warning cleared. It's flashing red and giving me a lot of warnings, but it's okay. I have full control of the situation. Come on, let me lock. Oh, that's why it won't let me lock. There we go. Okay, with the resource shortage taken care of, we can now turn our focus onto these hydrogen tanks. And I'm going to employ the same method I used to build the temporary tanks, and I'll just add these to the build planner and use the worker bee, because it makes the most sense. In terms of other modules then, let's grab some... So we want some hydrogen generators, and we want some hydrogen engines. Now we want 2 engines and 4 generators, ideally. Now we won't use the fancy ones because space is a bit of a premium at the moment. Okay, for the meantime this will also help fill the tanks. What else can we do? So we have the ability to make power. No, we've got the ability to make fuel. The ability to turn that fuel into power in case the solar panels are not enough. We've got the ability to store the ice to fuel this. So now we just need to be able to store the power. And then we need to plaster this with solar panels. Now, I've worked out I need about 16 solar panels per side. Or, no, was it 16? Yeah. I need 64 solar panels in total to make my 10 megawatts. And that's assuming they'll always be in the sun, which they won't. Because the idea I'm going to do is it's going to be like a fin design. So we'll have some solar panels out flat this way, some up the top, some left and some right. So the sun will always be shining on at least 2 surfaces, which would mean I'd need 32 per side, which is going to be quite bulky and egregious, I think. I may have to fit these outside. Okay, so if they're 2x4, oh boy, this is going to be quite big. I have an idea. Now, so if I can get 6 in this orientation, and I can extend it by 2 so I can make 8, that's only 2 layers of panels. And then I can do some shaping with the corner panels just to give us the extra bit we need to take us over. That's one possibility. Okay, I'm going to continue fleshing this out a little bit, because I can see myself changing my mind several times. Okay, we've got the wireframe down. We have merge block on the end here with a connector. That's how it's going to interface with the carrying ship. I've given it some control thrusters just so that if there is an issue after we've dropped it off, we can always remote in and move it. So it's got 2 thrusters in each direction, plus gyros. So we're able to maneuver it. I've put 2 event controllers on here. I think I'll only need 1, but I'll keep 1 for redundancy. We've got a timer block as well. Don't think I'll need it, but just in case. We have the action relay, which will allow us to, when this is running low on power, the event controller can detect that. The action relay can then send a message to either this base or the one on the receiving end and sort of have a flashing light go off or something like that. So we can use that to broadcast a visual thing. We have the broadcast controller that will tell us that it's low on power. And to be fair, we could use the timer block actually to send that message on repeat. So the timer block does have a use. We've got the remote control so we can do remote access, and we've got a projector just so that we can make this slightly easier in the future. So what we just need to do now is weld up the wireframe we have, and then we can move it outside to add the solar panels, and then we can finish doing all the detailing and greebling. Okay, gently does it. We don't want to smack ourselves into other things. You know, I think to give ourselves more room to maneuver, it may be a good idea to open the doors. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll open the doors. What we can do as well is we can set up a button panel here to close doors. Assembly area, interior doors, that'll do. Assembly area, interior doors, we'll have that a close button. So they've closed all of those. Now we can depressurize. Ah. But it won't depressurize, will it? Because we've filled up all the oxygen tanks. And because it won't depressurize, we now can't open the doors. Because of the safety lock I put on. Bugger. Double bugger. Okay. So I need a way to override that in the event that we make more oxygen or fill the oxygen tanks. You know, it was such a great idea when I first did it, and now it's come to bite me in the arse. Let me just figure out how I'm going to do this override in a sensible manner before we break anything. Okay, I've figured out how I'm going to do this. So I've made a group which I've named Door Override, where when I press the button, it turns the hangar doors back on, so they can now open, and it turns that timer in the corner back on, so that now allows me to operate both sets of doors, even when this room is pressurized. Now you can see, the vents are set to depressurize. This room is meant to depressurize, but it can't, because we have too much oxygen. So now what we do, now that we've got this open, we've got all this room along this side to maneuver. And when we run out of parts, we don't have to worry about trying to aim for this tiny connector here and risk crashing into the connection point here. That's the idea. Now let's get this welded up before I forget what I'm doing. What I might have to do is I may have to do as I did previously and just ditch the inventory the ship is carrying in order to just purely pick up the power cells. And I've just collided with the... Oh, really? That was such a slow collision as well. Okay, hang on. We need to do some repairs because I've just bashed this. Okay, we need to be more careful. I think that's what we do. We ditch the current inventory in the worker bee, and we just load up with power cells. So it was definitely a good call opening the doors for more maneuverability. I'm going to work on getting this welded up, and then we'll check in after it's all done. Okay, one thing I have learnt is that piloting a ship, which is quite fragile, inside of an enclosed space is actually quite difficult. The amount of times that I've had to repair one of these ion thrusters because I clipped it on something is more than I'd like to admit. That being said, I think we've got most of the power cells in these batteries now, so all I have to do is just finish them off with construction components and whatnot, which is actually a lot easier than hauling all the power cells. For the power cells are bulky, and the remaining components are not. And let's get these thrusters welded up. For the most part, they're actually pretty well welded. Okay, thrusters are done. All the back functional blocks are done, so we just need the ones near the front. Oh, the thrusters are not done. I lied. Thrusters are almost done. Okay, now the thrusters are done. We just need to weld up the functional blocks at the front. And then we'll be ready to get this out and solar paneled, I think. Okay, so I've given this framework a name. It's now known as SATCOM-1, for it will be a communications satellite. And we've undocked it from the base so we can remote into it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the dampeners so that we can move it. So dampeners have been turned off. Now we should be able to push it with the tug, in theory. I sure hope we don't break anything doing this. I've collided with the roof. There we go. Let's not break anything. I should have made this smaller. Now I'm colliding with the floor. Okay. I can see the first problem. I can't actually get out of the hangar. Maybe I... Oh, you know what? I think if I rotate this way a little bit and pivot. There we go, we can get out of the hangar this way. Okay, so the tug was... It was a good idea, but poor execution. As are a lot of the things I do, it turns out. That's fine. Are we out the hangar? Is our arse clear? Our arse is clear. Cool. Oh, bugger. That's the wrong way. Let's just grab hold of it. Number 2. All the engines are turned on. Those ones at the front should be okay. Now, in theory, we should be able to move this outside and into place. Provided we can break it free of the... There we go. Broken free of the pad. Now 355 tons, but that's okay. Tug's working. It's just not happy. Okay, broken free of the VAB. Ooh, let's just... Oh, I don't have enough gyro control here. I have a lot of forwards and backwards power, but not a lot else. I'm just going to readjust how I'm holding on to this, because my forward-facing lights are completely blocked. I've got to be very careful how hard I connect with this, because there is currently nothing stopping it from drifting away if I hit it too hard. Let's get this manoeuvred into place. Oh, I need so many more gyros on this thing. Is there anywhere I can feasibly put some now without too much issue? I could put them along the centre line. I don't know how easy that will help me rotate. Oh, and I've got some space on the back here. Let's put some on the back here first. I think not having them symmetrical might be counterproductive. I might. Yeah, you know what? Let's grind these ones off and put them more in the centre line. Right, let's try that for now. That's better. I'll try and add a few more, I think. Can easily fit another 3 here. I think we'll go with what we've got. I think that should be enough. Now my options are I can either put this back down on the pad so it can all the batteries can start recharging. But I do kind of need to put the solar panels on this now. And that's going to be a bit more difficult once it... You know, no, I can do most of the solar panels first. And then I can do the bottom ones once it's ready and charged. I do want to get this secure before I do much more with it. Purely because its dampeners are off and I don't want it drifting off into space. Let's go park you somewhere where you're not going to be a pain in the ass to get to. So even though I made a nice hangar for it, I'm just going to plonk it under here for the moment. Okay, module 1 is done. I think when it's... Oh, the sun's about to come over. I was about to say, while it's dark out, I should probably work on this one while it's above. And when the sun's coming over, I can work on the one inside. Do I want SATCOM or do I want to call it comms? I think ComSat's probably better. Just reset all their names and then prefix it. There we go. Oh, bollocks. Reset name. Prefix. ComSat 1 batteries. Let's set them all to recharge. Alright, while the sun's coming over, I think I'm gonna work on the next one. Oh no, I can't work on the next one until I've got this one fully ready and tested, can I? No, it's not sensible to work on the next one. It's not for the moment. And we should check on our ice as well. We've got loads of things we need to do. Let's start by hiding under here for the moment, so we don't get irradiated. How much ice have we used? How much ice have we used? Almost all of it. We're on our last section, apparently. So we need more ice. How much hydrogen have we got? 62% in those. 29% in those. Okay, so the answer is, if we put those on stockpile as well, have we got enough for another... We do. Okay, we've got enough to fuel another module. And that puts these extra ones at 10% full. Let's go get some more ice. Let's do a couple more trips to get more ice. And hopefully by that point the sun would have gone over and we can start working on adding the panels on the top. I like how there is now a debris field from where I've done this hole. You can see where my ice mine is just by looking at all the debris left behind. We'll do several of these trips until we get enough ice to do what we need to do. You know, this view never gets old. You know, I've just come to the conclusion that flipping it around when it's heavy laden is probably the worst idea I could do. So if I park this way around, I can still launch with a nice unobstructed takeoff zone. Just means I don't have to flip it around while it's full. Okay, maybe swinging my arse around like that is not such a good idea. I'm going to be a bit more careful how I take off. That's okay. We learn. I think I figured out the source of the performance issues I was having. Looking at that and the fact that the signal over there is flashing in and out of existence, I'm going to say that maybe setting those batteries on the common satellite to recharge was possibly a bad idea. I think we might be running into power issues. Okay, let's go back and deal with this power issue. Yeah, I think we may be having some power issues here. I think it says power issues like the constant flickering of the lights, and I think that's what's causing all the issues. Okay, two options. We either restore power through reactors, or we stop recharging these. I think we stop recharging these. There we go. Problem solved. But not quite. Because we're still at a power deficit, I think. Okay, not quite a deficit, but we're also not getting a lot of... I think we turned the reactors on. I think it's time. I think it's time we go turn the reactors on. It's been a long time since we've been in here. Right. Do I need both? No, I don't need both on. Let's turn one on. Let's turn reactor 1 on. Power is going to pump out the full 300 megawatts though until those batteries are charged. It's not the most efficient use of power. However, I think, given the circumstance, I think it's justified. I should probably do some automation to make sure that once the batteries are to a certain point, then it turns itself off. We'll run a single reactor for the moment, and hopefully we don't run out of uranium too soon. Okay, solar panels have been placed. I haven't put enough on the top here, have I? No, I have not. Okay, I've only done half the amount that I need. There we go, that's better. So we just need to do the bottom now. And then weld these up, and then this should be one module ready to go. And I just need to build another 5 of these. What I will do is I will quickly... I think I'll do this remotely instead of using the tug for the moment. Put the dampeners back on for the moment. We are going to... It's upside down. I need to keep that in mind. It is upside down. If I thrust that direction and clear the pad. There we go. Now I do need to get some height to it. This thing does actually look somewhat majestic. I can't lie. Cool. Let's get the next solar panel strapped onto it. So we'll need to remove the connector. And grab ourselves a whole bunch of steel plates. And build a whole bunch of solar panels. Now, these don't sit in the middle of the block, so which alignment have I got? I've got them on the right hand side here. So I put them on the left hand side down here. That'll do. So 1, 2 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Flip them around. Oh, bollocks. Oh, done it again. And then one more there. These extra ones here are for good luck. The 16 that we placed down initially should be enough, he says optimistically. So the 16 should be enough. So these extra ones should be just a few bonus. Just a bit of bonus. Bit of bonus power. Oh, those are in the complete wrong place. The ones on this side. The ones that I've just made. They are not in the middle. Not even remotely close to the middle. Oh, damn it. Right, I'm going to quickly correct this. And then we'll go over the rest of the plan. Alright, so that's all the solar panels welded up. I learnt my lesson from last time when I did the solar array. I used the worker bee. It is so convenient. Now I think, other than a bit of decoration, this is very almost done. We've got the 2 laser antennas to fit, which I might just bring out the top here to give them the best line of sight that they can have. And after the antennas, that's it. Antennas, decoration, and then test. I've just spotted a mistake. Can you spot the mistake? I'll give you a hint. On 3 sides, the solar panels are spaced out by a block. On the bottom, they are not. That's annoying. But it is solvable. And I've got an idea of how I'm going to do it. If we cut those off, and then cut off this top line of solar panels. And then pull these down a little bit, using our trusty tugboat. Gently does it. There we go, we caught them. So let's just move it down a tad. Then we can put all those panels back on. And what we'll do is we'll just merge these back on, just so we didn't have to grind off all of them. Okay, now let's grab a merge block. I need the large steel tubes. I have the large steel tubes. Okay, let's move that back into position and remerge it. And just in case of Klang, let's just move you out of the way. Grab the tugboat, move this into position. And we're in. Nice. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to do with this empty space we now have, because I could put more batteries on, but I don't think it's necessary. We already have a whole lot of batteries. In fact, we have a whopping 24. So we have 24 batteries. I don't think we need any more. How can I make that use power? I just put all of their overrides on. This could be a terrible idea. 5 megawatts. While the sun is at 45 degrees. That's not what I need. I need more than that. Across all the solar panels, I'm only getting 5.24, which is not ideal. But I'm curious as to how much I will get once it's directly overhead. Because in theory it should be 160 times 18 times 2. Did I do my maths wrong? No, maths is right. No, I did do the maths wrong. Bollocks! I need twice as many solar panels, which I don't think is viable. So the good news is, the 45-degree plan sort of works, because we are going to pretty much always have 5.65 megawatts. It'll go up to about 5... It'll go up to about 6 as the maximum. So we'll always get about 5.5 megawatts, which is 4.5 megawatts short of what we need. Which is not ideal. Which means we are going to be burning hydrogen for the most part. Do 5 megawatts on hydrogen. That's one hydrogen engine. And we worked out that both of these should last about 18 hours or so. No, 12.5 hours. So if it's 12.5 hours for 2, that's 24 hours for 1. 25 hours for 1. That means I'll need to keep it topped up every 24 hours, which isn't too bad. Now, that's not taking into account the fact that it can produce its own hydrogen. So if I give it a full container as well, then we're cooking. So 72 megawatt hours divided by 10 megawatts, that's 7 hours. Let's get some more batteries on here. I know I was questioning whether we needed more batteries, but the answer is unequivocally yes. We do need more batteries. Okay, so we saw 6.3. 6.5, I think, is going to be our peak. We've missed it, it's going down now. Okay, so peak power comes whilst it's still shining on this face, mostly shining on this face, and mostly shining on this face. So I wonder what the minimum power is going to be. Oh, 6.65. Still going up. Okay. Okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. We're only 3.5 megawatts short. At least for the peak power. I'm sure we can make this work. So, in theory, the minimum will come when it's about 45 degrees. But even then, if that's still above 5, that's pretty good. I can't add more solar panels. I think this is about stretching the limit of how much I'm prepared to commit to these satellites. Because I need to make 6 of these, or 5 more of these. So if this is already quite big, I'd essentially need to double the solar panels again in every direction. I think we use a combination of solar and hydrogen. Okay, so at the minimum, we get 4.8, which isn't great. However, I have reran the numbers, and it turns out my original sums were wrong. They were for 1,500 kilometers, not 1,000 kilometers. So if we're going for 1,000 kilometer spacing, we only need 2.6 megawatts per receiver. That's 5.2 megawatts. That is well within the range we're getting on these solar panels. So the maximum we've seen is about 6.5. The lowest we've seen is 4.8. What we need is 5.2. This means we have enough on the solar panels to be able to maintain two-way communications without needing the hydrogen backup. Now, the hydrogen backup is just there in case, for whatever reason, it isn't able to fully charge within the cycle. But this means it's going to be a lot lower maintenance than I thought it was going to be. Now, we don't have the headroom to also run the hydrogen generators all the time, because they require 0.5 megawatt each. That's an extra 2 megawatts we don't have. Unless we're discharging the batteries and running the hydrogen engines to recharge them. So they are there as the emergency power source so that we can get this kick-started in the event it runs out. Because we get a minimum at 45 degrees. We get a maximum like halfway between 45 degrees and 90. Then we get another smaller minimum when it's right on, but even then that's still bigger than the actual minimum. And then we will get another maximum as it comes through here, minimum as it hits 45 degrees, then another maximum as it comes down here. I think for the majority of it, and the only time where we won't have the required power is when it's in 45 degrees. Every other time, we will have enough power. All we need to know is we have enough power to do what we want to do. And so I think we can commit to making another 5 of these. Whilst I like the beam block aesthetic here, it definitely really feels like it's holding it together. I think it's a little bit too much. Okay, so you know that thing I do when I say I'm going to do some painting and some greebling and then I paint the rest of the owl? Well, I've painted the rest of the owl. What I've done is I have adjusted the beam blocks so that it's broken up a little bit more with some solid armor. Some of these truss pieces, which I think looks quite cool. Feels like it's like a mounting point, clipping point for tethering yourself to the craft, maybe. I've painted the craft, so all the solar panels have a lick of paint. The tanks have been painted the appropriate colour, as have the O2 H2 generators. I've added some lights, partly so that when I'm approaching it from any direction I can tell which way up it is. It's actually meant to be viewed in this orientation. So, nav lights are as you would expect on a ship, with port being red, starboard being green. I've used white for up, because that's how mast lights, at least in naval contexts, the mast light is white. And then for down I've just used a teal colour just because, I mean, teal is the colour of a connector waiting to lock. And most of my connectors are on the bottom of my craft, so teal for down feels right for me. Last but not least, I've differentiated from front and back by having these last 2 lights synchronize, whilst also having the side lights go round in a pattern. So the sequence is from front to back, just so that if you're approaching from a side, you can quite easily tell the orientation of it. All in all, I'm quite happy with how this has turned out, with all the extra greebles, the paneling, the colouring. I have seriously thought about making the panels foldable, and I think for the added complexity required for it, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the space saving. Realistically, I could save maybe 3 blocks off the height, so I could probably half the height of the panel for transit, but I don't think it's worth it, because you need a double hinge, a couple of merge blocks, makes it a whole lot less friendly in terms of welding it up, and it's also an extra point of failure that I don't need. All in all, I think we're ready. No, we're not ready to wrap up. We're not ready to wrap up. The other thing I did, whilst being lost in the greebles, is I set up an emergency protocol. Because I don't want to have to manage these things. It's a constellation of 6 satellites. I don't want to have to constantly check in on them. So, I've put on some event controllers, which will react as follows. If the power goes low, so less than 10% stored on all of the batteries, it will turn the batteries to recharge. It will turn the hydrogen engines on, and it will turn the hydrogen generators on. It will also start the emergency protocol. What I've done is I've set up a timer that after 2.5 minutes, if the event hasn't resolved itself, so in this case, the power hasn't gone back up above 10%, it will broadcast a message on the broadcast controller to tell me that something is wrong, and it will also send a signal on the action relay to tell me... Well, I'm not sure what it's going to do yet. I think what I want to do is I want to have a light on the base somewhere that lights up if something goes wrong, so I can see at a glance that, hey, there is something I need to check on, in case I miss the broadcast. That's another signal. I've got 2 signals. Oh, this is interesting.
The immediate distraction.
One moment. We are going to distract... I'm going to get so distracted. Let's go for the one which is not got a timer on it, because that's left over from the last. We'll go to this one, then we'll go pick up the other one on the way back. It just despawned right in front of our eyes. That is disappointing, but understandable. Let's go for the other one. It's not something that's going to start moving from us. That's good. What's the barrel? What's in the barrel? Where's the... We got a welder. Okay, unknown signal sorted. Let's go back to base. I almost didn't recognise that I was going to collide there. That almost ended horribly. I would be genuinely really upset if I had to rebuild this. Okay, where was I before I got so rudely interrupted by an unknown signal? Oh, I remember. Right. Signal's off. I don't like them on the HUD. Okay, so... we were talking about the emergency protocol. Let's get to a control panel that is outside of the sun. The timer block transmits a message from the broadcast controller telling me that something's wrong. It also triggers an action on channel 11 to tell me there is something wrong with this one in particular. And then it starts itself again. So that this should repeat itself every 2.5 minutes. So the triggers for the emergency protocol are if the power goes below 10% and doesn't come back up above 10% within 2.5 minutes. And if the gas goes below 10% on all tanks and doesn't come back up above 10% within 2.5 minutes. Now, if it takes longer than 2.5 minutes to come back up, that's not a problem, because it's designed so that when it comes back above the threshold, the event controller will stop the timer block countdown. So it's looping, but if it ever comes back up above the threshold, then it'll stop looping. We also have event controllers for high power and high gas. So once we've got enough power, it'll stop making more power. Pretty self-explanatory. Same with the gas. Once we've got enough gas, once that's above 95%, that's just to turn the generators off so that they're not constantly running and burning through ice when we don't need it to. So it's a bit of simple automation. That means we don't have to babysit this, which is going to make life a bit easier. Now, that being said, I think we're ready to start work on the next one. We do need to park this somewhere, though, because currently it's in the way a little bit. Let's fly this out from the bashing zone, as it were. And let's just quickly remote into SATCOM 1. We'll take control of it. Now I need to remember, currently it's upside down. I want to go that way. Raise it higher. Move forward a little bit. Yes, I know the signal's there. I will deal with it soon. And I think we can probably just rotate it in place. So it's now the right way up. And just for now, I want to make sure that the connection with the antennas is working properly, so I'm just going to rotate it so the laser antenna faces the ones on the base. I'm glad to know that the gyro is working as intended, and is plenty power enough to move it, as are the thrusters. ComSat 1, connect to receiver. I'm to establish connected. There we go. Here we go. You know what? I was about to say this is a problem. It's not. I was just expecting it to be that one, I can't lie. Because it would have been that one if it wasn't upside down. That's why... Okay. I forgot that I rotated it in place. Okay. We have our first communications satellite built. It is fully charged. It is full of hydrogen, so it's got plenty of reserve power. It has the means to make more power. We can interface it with our carrier ship, both merge and connector. And we can also interface it with ships to refuel. Because that is the other purpose of these satellite stations, is they can act as refueling points along the way. We're in a really good position. I think we'll wrap it up here because we're running out of time. I already had to skip a week, which I wasn't happy to do. And the temperature here is climbing ever so slightly, a lot, over the next few weeks. So please forgive me if posts are a bit few and far between for the next few weeks. It's summer. I'm going to enjoy the nice weather. That being said, thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it. Thank you all for subscribing. Again, very much appreciate it. I'm going to be looking for names in the next video. We need to name this satellite, we need to name the tugboat. So if you have any suggestions, please drop it below. I will read them, I would consider them. Shippy Muck Ship Face very well be a name we go with. And likewise, if there's any tutorials or anything you'd like me to expand upon from any of the previous episodes, please do leave a suggestion in the comment. I can do a standalone video on various different things that I've done. Until the next time, this is Fiery Shadows of the UPML, signing off.